people on the copy and yourself to their camp.
We hit the first way. He's going to be on. And you know what? He may also be the one to tell us about it before he hits. How often do you wake up at night tossing and turning? This is what happens because of that. Broken sleep patterns affect the ability to build memories according to...
Nothing but fucking commercials for the first 15 fucking minutes, and then he comes back and does a fucking commercial? My ass.
Memory problems are linked to conditions which also include Alzheimer's disease and sleep apnea. Stanford University research found disrupting sleep made it harder for the animals to recognize familiar objects. Sleep experts said the brain use deep sleep to evaluate the day's events and decide what to keep. So if they keep waking you up in the middle of the night, bill collectors or whatever, take your phone off. Tampa General Hospital has filed a $9.2 million claim against the estate of a woman who died after spending 5 years in the hospital. In court documents, that's how much the hospital says it is owed for the care of Temeka Campbell, who died at the age of 29 2 years ago of neuropathy, which occurs when the immune cells attack the body's nerves. America, and the singer of High Harmonies on hits that include this song, The Horse with No Name, and Ventura Highway, has died. He was only 60 years old. Peke's wife, Catherine, found him dead in his bed in his home in Farmington, Missouri. That's only about 60 miles from St. Louis. Cause of death not known, and autopsy planned, and Pete suffered from arthritis. It's not known if that was a contributing factor. In Los Angeles, they may be doing away with the red light cameras after all. They figure, you know what, people can just shrug off if they get a ticket. They are seriously planning to do away with the red light cameras. I wish the rest of the country would do that. The mysterious creation particle believed to have turned flying debris into stars and planets at the dawn of the universe has evaded capture in a year of hot pursuit. To turn up traces of the God particle. We'll talk more about this next on Coast to Coast Anyhow. Really? What I'm reading lately tells me the economy could be in for serious trouble. Kevin Demerit, you've been warning us about the dangers of extreme turning in the global economy if we are on the brink of another meltdown. George, the data housing is turning down. We're still losing jobs. Debt is take our savings and retirement accounts with it. Is that why gold keeps rising? Well, the whole world is starting to understand the line of defense against currencies backed by debt. If you had to pick one, right now. Massive printing trillions for bailouts are dollars and shares. Trillions of dollars of debt and piled on top of it. Is there any solution? Well, with the deficit getting worse, not better, I think we're doubling here. But if we get another economic shock, gold could go even higher. What's happening? The fall of inflation, any of the investor savings and retirement accounts could be wiped out. It's all in our new special report. What is it? It's 10 warning signs of an economic meltdown and why the gold price could double again. Kevin Demerit has been on the spot about the economy and gold. Call Lear Capital 1-800-474-4259 for your free gold investment kit and their special report. Gold will help protect your savings and retirement. 1-800-474-4259. That's 1-800-474-4259. 1-800-474-4259. What happened, man? You used to be energetic and the ladies love you. Now you're tired, moody, and out of shape. Don't be that guy. Try Ageless Male, a supplement shown to raise testosterone by 50% and maintain normal levels. Feel that energy again and a healthy sex drive. Call to try Ageless Male risk-free. 1-800-718-4689. 1-800-718-4689. 1-800-718-4689.
Glenn Beck, David Noon on KSMX.
Coast. Leonard Milano received his doctorate in physics from Berkeley. He's now a physicist at Caltech, author of numerous books, including The Grand Design, co-author of A Brief History of Time with Stephen Hawking, and he is, of course, working on a book with Deepak Chopra. Here is Leonard on Coast to Coast. And Leonard, how are you?
Good, George. How are you?
Good to have you with us. I want you to explain to us as we get into the story of the search for the Higgs boson, the particle up there in Switzerland and CERN, and also the Tevatron. What is this? What is this particle?
Well, George, in the 1970s, physicists came up with a theory that we now call the Standard Model, which explains what we know about all the forces of nature and how they interact with each other, except for gravity. But it explains the electrical magnetic forces, the weak force, and the strong force, and how the particles that carry those forces, that feel those forces, interact. But one of the things that was necessary to make that theory work was for all the particles that we see in nature to be massless, to have no mass at all. And the mechanism in that model, they obviously do have mass. The mechanism for giving the mass is something called the Higgs mechanism, which involves this particle called the Higgs boson existing.
Named after somebody obviously named Higgs.
Named after Peter Higgs, who's one of the fellows who thought it up. And this is the only particle in the Standard Model that the Standard Model deals with that hasn't actually been observed and measured. And so it's something that everyone's very anxious to see if it's really there. There are good arguments that it should be found if it's there. So if it's, there's always a good problem with physics that one can say if you're looking for a particle, if you don't see it, its mass is too high, you don't have enough energy. But this new accelerator in Geneva has enough energy to see that it's there. So there's no getting around that, and they're taking data now looking for it.
Well, Leonard, is this stuff like glue? Is that what it does?
Not really. You might think it's almost like a swimming pool. If you think of particles, if they didn't have any mass, they'd be moving freely through space. But if space were full of some stuff, it might slow them down, and it might put a drag on it. You can think of it a little bit like that. Their interactions with the field of particles everywhere have the effect of giving them mass. And so that's a bit like that.
They think they're searching for it. Why can't they find it?
It's a very tough job. I mean, the Large Hadron Collider, it's the world's largest and highest energy particle accelerator out in Switzerland, took, I think, 15 or more years to build, about $10 billion, 10,000 scientists and engineers from all over the world. I mean, it's a very complex device, and what physicists expect to see is about we expect that there should be a Higgs produced every few hours, I think. But not like when one is produced, it's like you see, oh, look, there's an apple on the table. It's not like that at all. It's buried in mounds and mounds of data in order to get enough statistics to identify it, the characteristics of it, and to be sure that you're really producing them. A lot of these things, it'll take probably a year or two of observations, even if it's coming out, if you're producing one every few hours, before you have enough statistics to be sure that you had one. So, and then it'll take months. It takes a lot of time to analyze the data too. It's computers all over the world have been hooked up very intricately to analyze the data. There's tons and tons of data coming from the accelerator. So it's not something that one should think of as you turn on the machine and either you see it or you don't. It's something that really takes a lot of time and a lot of people effort over years until you really know.
How did this British physicist Peter Higgs even come up with this idea years ago?
Well, I think he was playing around with it. He was asking a what-if question and playing with the mathematics, and he realized that if such a particle existed, it could be a massless particle of mass. And it was years later until it turned out that people realized that was actually what we really needed. So it was really a group effort to get it put together. He didn't come up with the Higgs mechanism for the Standard Model, which was not developed at the time. It was a mathematical mechanism that he came up with, and then